Morning, folks. I'm actually home right now for the next couple days, and I'm running up to Torquedo headquarters to Chicago. But I thought that I would give you a little bit insight on how I keep track of, or how I really brainstorm and capture good ideas for videos. Before I do that, I'm gonna just say I got one more that's scheduled in the future. That's a week from this past Monday. That one is morning bite in Ontario, 4 hours fishing water that was new to me. This was actually the morning after I I did the install on the NAR video up in Ontario with Zach at Frontenac Outfitters. I needed a little bit of fish footage, and I had a brief window before I had to get back home to actually to catch my kid's basketball game, which he won. Anyhow, let me go down my video ideas. As I have ideas, as I'm, traveling or talking to people, and I know I have a podcast this evening that may trigger some ideas. When when that person asks me certain questions, it keeps me on point with knowing, hey, what do people want to know about that I can help share some of that information. One that I've had people ask and I don't know the answer to, footwear for river fishing in the summertime. A lot of people ask this going into the Susquehanna tournament, the Hobie Bass Open Series, and I don't actually know where I got the shoes. I mean, I know I ordered them online, but I destroy river shoes like at the rate of about 2 pair a season. This one is done really well, but I looked into doing that and I can't remember where I got them. I think it was actually a Facebook ad that I replied to and said, yeah, I need river shoes anyways. Let's get those. Anyhow, another one's going to be on how shallow do inflatable kayaks go, and specifically Trey and I will film the Osprey 1436. I know that answer because I've stopped when I've run aground and said, let me put a tape measure on it, and it's 2 1/8 inch is what I run aground on. When it's 2 1/4, anyway, I'm gonna use the dome on the GoPro to show, wow, that really is a huge advantage. One that I'm doing tomorrow with Jake Harshman on the Susquehanna River, lean into the rock. I'm going to teach the rock broach drill. It's something that I can teach you conceptually, but it's not as useful as having you set up a drift and running into a rock and then training yourself to lean into the rock so the water slides underneath your kayak, as opposed to what is human nature is you hit the rock and you think, oh, the rock's the problem. No, all the water piling up on this side is a problem. You lean away from the rock and that water just flips you. So we're gonna have some fun, with me flipping the, I'm going to use the sholey because the inflatable is too stable to actually, for that to work. I think it would in bigger whitewater, but we'll see. It's an important concept. We had some friends in the Hobie Bass Open Series over the weekend that flipped and lost some gear, and I'm actually going to see if I can recover some of that gear. I got the scuba mask ready, and I don't know. We'll see if I can dive down there and find our friends' rods. We know where they went down. Tailspin Senko. Something I've seen a couple of my friends do, and I've got the Z-Man tail spinners, or whatever they call it with a Z. I don't know. I think it's tail spinners. Christine Fisher did it down on Chickamauga, and I was like, I gotta use that. I gotta It was also good down on, Guillermo was using it for when we were working with the ladies of the Women's Fishing Federation event, and it worked on Lake Fork. And I've caught a couple on it. I just haven't done a video on it, but it's basically putting a little Colorado blade at the end of a 16th ounce bullet weight out in front of a Senko and letting that flutter down. It works. What was I thinking here? Stability overkill, standing stability, no wake. I mean, I think I'm just gonna, that's another inflatable video, Inflatable Kayak, talking about how when you stand up in a rotomolded kayak, you kind of wobble side to side. They're like, look, I can do it. Yeah, but you're sending a wake out into an area you're trying to fish. That tells them you're there. Whereas with the inflatable, you stand on it and it just doesn't move. So it's a stealthy stability to go upright. I want to do a video on sort of higher level sight fishing. I want to talk about the loophole, performance eyewear. That's an important part about sight fishing, is choosing the right color lens for the water that you're in. But the higher level stuff is if you see them, they probably see you, and how you need to make sure that you're not, if you're within a line of sight of them, you're not moving. You drift through the area, go down, figure out where they were positioned, don't spook them, circle around, come back, and lob in a cast from behind them, and hopefully that works more than, if you're just, if you're waving your arms right at them like, ha, I see you. That spooks them. I think a lot of people got that wrong on the Susquehanna last weekend. Video on grass beds and whitewater. There isn't much whitewater to be had on the Susquehanna, and the grass beds are too far out, so that's probably one that will wait till September. Push water and how to present to it. I did a little bit of that I covered push water just very briefly. Push water is water that is, if the current's going this way, it's accelerating at, right before it drops back down. That's what push water is. I covered some of it in that crankbait video that I posted recently. So need to go more in depth and maybe get some cool underwater videography there. So I think the underwater videography is going to really show how much food is in push water. It's amazing the amount of darters and other bait fish primarily, but the crayfish like to crawl up in there and look right upstream, and they get right in that accelerating water, and they eat right there. It's fun to just watch push water. Audition baits. I kind of covered it before, but basically, I've pared down my tackle to what I know works, and then I will pick a bait to say, this is what I've given myself permission to experiment with. Something that I'm not good at yet, but I don't bring a whole lot of those. I'd probably just bring one, but the concept of what an audition bait is and how you give it a fair shake, and hopefully it becomes something that in certain situations you incorporate into your usual rotation if it's really that good. I did that recently with the Jackal Riser. It did not earn its spot in my rotation, at least for river fishing. It's good. It's really good. Southern waters that have spotted bass, that they eat the shad. In rivers and reservoirs, if they're eating topwater, that motion where its nose up on the surface, just kind of moving along, it's very good for those southern spotted bass. but Susquehanna smallmouth didn't love it. Dragging boats. I need a video on dragging boats, and maybe that's something that Jake and I can cover. Why a longer strap, the physics of dragging a boat, why the longer strap really makes things easier for you. That should be an easy one. I'm going to go snakehead fishing with Joe Biden. And the next one is Book Review Snakehead Symposium. I may combine that with a trip with Scylla. So I have this book that I ordered that covers all of the scientific literature on snakehead. John Odenkirk is a biologist down in Virginia. He really he's probably the most knowledgeable on them, and has studied them and put radio transmitters on them and studied their movements and their feeding and stomach contents relative to which tide cycle. Some really interesting stuff there, and I've been reading that book. It's scientific research is what it is, and I've been reading it and taking home some lessons. I just want to do more snakehead fishing while it's still summer and it's hot. I just got to keep traveling everywhere. I got to get this Chicago trip behind me and just fish local. I miss it. I miss fishing the fisheries that I know the best here in the mid-Atlantic. Anyhow, installing landing gear. I have some Boondocks landing gear that I'm going to be putting on the on the Osprey 1436. Should be a really simple install. Most other Boondocks landing gear installs that I've done, where you're reaching inside the hull, I usually bleed, usually somewhere like right on the elbow as I'm reaching up in there to install backing hardware. But this one should be easy. Boondocks landing gear, and I'm going to have the beach wheels on there. So I still have a few. I guess I'll just keep going. Do It Keeper Mod Finesse. So I have the finesse jig, Midwestern finesse jig mold, and I got the Magnum, which I just got, like, they actually let me leave with their display model at iCast, which was kind of them, the folks that do it. But I've ordered the one, it's a different one, but it's got a keeper. And what I'm looking to do is that Elaztech, the bat wings on that finesse jig, kind of comes down to that bend, and it can slide up that little turn in that hook. And I don't like that. So I want the wire keeper, the little that pushes up into and hooks into that Elaztech. I'm going to see if I can make that work. I've got the little, it's another video for the Tackle Craft playlist. So we'll see how that turns out. I got that stuff on order, and when I get back from Chicago, it'll be there for me to play with. Osprey versus sholey. I hate the concept of a versus video, but I've had people ask me, like, you've presented both of these as really good riverboats. They are, but different types of river. And the short answer is the sholey is a better boat for high gradient rivers. In other words, gradient is a unit of measure that you see in whitewater guidebooks that says this section of river drops at 23 feet per mile. That's got a lot of whitewater in it. Or this section of river drops at 4 feet per mile. Well, that's pretty flat, and there'd be a couple riffles in there, but otherwise it's pretty flat. The Osprey does better in that second one, because you don't have, and it's not that it doesn't handle the white water as well, but it's long, and it is very maneuverable for a 14-foot boat, but that sholey is super maneuverable and just handles that higher gradient. So, I'm going to do a compare and contrast of the two. and show where where one is a shallow water specialist and one is a whitewater specialist. So that'll be another video. Stixxteer, I set it up last year with the star rival fish, and I really miss it, especially for when I go upright in can sight fish. I don't have it set up on the osprey. I have to refine that. I got to refine the design, and I think I need Trey helping me. If you're curious what I'm talking about, I did a video last year with Jake on my stixxteer that I put on the inflatable, the star rival fish, which basically, you know, coming off of the front of each of the foot control steering slides, it went forward, looped around, something came up, and I had a stixxteer that was if I had it up and I was sitting and I'd using foot control, it looked like a windshield wiper. But as I was upright, I could grab that and say, go left, go right, as I was motoring upright. I got to redo that. And if I can redo that and teach people how to do that in a better way, it'd be good. Pop shads, smallmouth rigging, treble hook, Z-Man pop shads. I asked Jake about it. I'm like, have you used that for smallmouth? He's like, yeah. I'm like, does it work? Sorta. I don't know. I think there's better topwater baits than a popper for smallmouth, but certainly the whopper plopper or chopo or whatever you want to call it, whatever knockoff of that tail prop plug did well for a lot of people on the Susquehanna. Whopper plopper. But I want to play around with the pop shads. That's going to be an audition bait for me. I'm going to see if I can make it work better. Palming the line coming off a spinning reel on the cast. Why, how, and slow motion with the right light to show what I'm doing. But basically, when I cast with a spinning reel, a lot of people that say, why are you using that? You know, it amuses me anymore. The pro baitcaster folks, and I like baitcasters for a lot of reasons, but they cite, you can control a cast a lot better with a baitcaster when they're talking about thumbing it and really stopping it short of if it's heading towards something and you're like, ooh, get out of that branch, yeah, hit the brakes. You can do that with a spinning reel, and I'm going to show you how. And more than that, it actually, if there's an arc in the line as it's coming down, you can straighten that out so it shoots underneath things. And I don't mean skipping, but I mean it's going to be in the air the whole time. And in order to have enough oomph to get it way over there and underneath that overhanging branch and into that shade, there's a way. I'm going to see if I can capture it on film. It's going to be interesting to see. I do it all the time, but it's actually having it visually represented well on film is going to be a challenge. Let's see if I get Jake to help me with that. It'll be a slow-mo thing. I might have him tuck up underneath there and launch one at him. But basically, the curve goes up above, and when I can take my offhand, now this is the real holding hand, but I'm holding the phone with that other one, I palm it, which slows it. It doesn't stop it. So the equivalent with a baitcaster would be just be lightly touching it. And it straightens out that curve, so it takes the slack out of it. It goes from this to this, and it sails in like a line drive, and that's the concept. Throwing behind carp or catfish. So good summertime pattern. Need a video on that. I will have to find the polarized lens for my camera. I tried filming that last time I was on the Susquehanna for a full day solo. It's hard to capture, even when they're just 20 feet out in front of you, the glare on the water. I do have a little polarized lens for the camera, so we'll see See if I can get that. What I'm hoping for going through the list of what I have, you know, that came, and I capture it as it comes to me, and I, in my notes, just say, ooh, there's another video idea. I put it in there. So I need you, my viewers, please. What do you want to know? What's interesting to you? What higher level teachings can I give you? And if you comment on this one and there's something that you ask a question and I don't know, I'll tell you, I don't know that one. But I'll see if I can find someone who does and film them. We'll see. But if it's something you've seen me do in, you know, in any of the other videos and you're curious about, let me know. Hopefully I can make, I think some of my best videos come from people's comments that I reply to and think, there's a concept there. There's something I learned to do way back when, and I do automatically now that maybe needs to be broken down onto a step-by-step video of this is the little stuff. These are the little details that make you a better angler mechanically. I still think I need to come back and do another video, which I covered a lot if in the winter, last winter on the Susquehanna, on the mental game. It's, you know, I cover a lot on the mechanical, the rigging, the whatever it is, but the mental side of things, you know, maintaining confidence, believing, visualizing, you know, believing in your own abilities, or believing in your past experiences can be replicated, or even trying to understand something you don't quite yet, and using visualization of this is what I think is happening down there. The mental side of it, I'm going to put that down there, at least applying the mental. All right, going mental, and it'll be summer patterns, visualization. Visualization is part of it in any sport. I talked to my son about it in basketball. Do you know what it looks like? Like, he was out there doing free throws. I think he did 150 of them yesterday. He's got a goal for 150 each day for the next month or something. 150 free throws. I'm like, are you visualizing what that looks like? He's like, I know what it looks like. I'm like, no. Before it releases from your fingertips, do you visualize? Works in fishing too, so probably even more so, because visualization leads to confidence, and confidence is probably the biggest. I was actually talking with Cody Prather about it, and he films the Major League Fishing guys, and you know, I did the Instagram reel. So Instagram account is Jeff Little Kayak Fishing at the Hobie Bass Open Series, and I went around and I stuck the phone in people's face and said, "What lure you're gonna, win this tournament with?" And people had different responses. Some people wouldn't tell me. Some, like Steve Sisto, was like, "Can I tell you in 2 days?" Other people, like Abby Abendanza, he said the baby goats, even though I think he caught most of his fish. He did well. I forget what he caught him on. It was another Z-Man plastic. Whatever. Lots of different responses on what the bait was, and I talked to Cody, who was the tournament director, who films. He's a videographer. He films the Major League Fishing. He's the guy with the camera on the boats that brings that content to you. Like, he's the camera guy, and he's like, it's all confidence. It's all mental. It's all you know, he's like, you could be on one guy's boat one day, and he's like, it's got to be a black and blue jig. It's on this type of bush, and da 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 da. And then you're there on the same body of the water the next day on a different boat, different angler, and they're like, no, it's this, you know, this top water plug, but you have to be where the wind's blowing this way, and then this kind of contour, and it helps if whatever. Going through all those, you know, mechanical, physical, whatever. But he's like, it's whatever you can have confidence in, where you think this is it, this is going to happen. I need to get into that part. I think I just did, but apply it to wherever I am. So anyhow, channel is doing good. I'm having good growth this summer. You know, I appreciate your subscribing, and you know, we got a lot more. We got 5,500 subscribers, so yay. But you know, I want your ideas. Comment, even if you don't have an idea right away. Comment something. The comments help the channel grow. When there's that interaction, that back and forth, it really does. Even if I love the gratitude post. You know, the 5,500 subscribers, just to tell you, is right now is getting me about $300 a month, which isn't anywhere close to the amount of money that I have to keep putting into it in gear. I'm not even going to talk about the gas and the time, but like just the gear, like these things. I got to buy these things constantly. You know, it's an expensive hobby at this point. I'm hoping that it pays for itself at some point. But you guys watching, commenting, and you know, those posts of gratitude, that keeps me going. So thank you. Keep commenting, but give me your ideas. What videos do you want to see next? Thanks for watching. See?